Hey Pyros, Tim Rudnicky with Fireworks.show, and today we're going to be covering step scripting. Step scripting gives you the options for some manual and fully automated events in the same script. Want to know what this looks like? It's coming up now. All right, so before we get started, I am going to make a few assumptions that you at least have kind of a basic understanding of how Cobra Show Creator works. We're not going to go into anything too crazy, but if any of this doesn't make sense, I'll link it up in the description below. We've got a Basics to Fireworks scripting in Cobra Show Creator that you can watch, and it kind of walks through this in a little bit more detail. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get started. We're going to start off with our step script here, and we're going to go to File. Go to New Show, or you can click Control-N on your keyboard. We want no music in this case, and then we can go to Step or Step Timed Event. So we're going to do Step and Time Event in the other half of this video. Right now, we're just going to focus on Step. All right, so go ahead and name your show. I'll call this Step. How original, right? And then I'm going to go ahead and my hardware is on firmware version 5, so I'm going to leave it there. I want my trigger channel to be 0. I'm going to keep my trigger button at 1 like we did last time. And then the return channel, again, I'll just leave at 0. So those are the 3 that are required. That's all we essentially need in this script to get things started. All right, so we'll add our first step event to our timeline. I'm going to click on the plus button down here. And I like to think of step scripting as kind of like paddle shifters on a car, right? So the car's computer knows exactly how it needs to shift through the gears. That's essentially what we're doing here. We're programming the remote to know exactly what channel and cue it's going to need to shift to. So I'm going to set this first one to channel 0. The module would be set to channel 0, and the cue in this case would be Q1. Firework in this case might be called a 500-gram cake of awesome, and maybe it's got a 30-second duration. All right, so we need to specify the next gear. Essentially, this is going to shift to, or the next event. I'm going to go and click on the plus button again to do that. And then I'll just specify again, module 0, Q2 in this case. And maybe this is just a 200-gram cake, and that'll be 15 seconds long. All right, so these do not have to be sequential either. You don't have to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In our next event, we can specify that maybe it's a different module. Maybe we're using a module on channel 1, and just to really kind of exaggerate the point, this could be on Q18, okay? And maybe just for the sake of demonstration, this is another 500-gram cake of awesome. These things are so sweet that we've got 2 of them, and those have also got a 30-second duration. So you can kind of see now as we kind of step through this would fire first. We'd press the step button. This will go off next. Step button again, and this will fire. Okay, and we'll finish off this step script by adding actually 3 more cue controls. And again, if you watched the last video, I'm going to go into my fireworks share here and go into my fireworks. Basically, it's like a inventory of fireworks that we use on a regular basis. And then you can click on the first step event here, and then you can shift click on the last. That'll highlight all 3 of these lines, and you can actually insert then multiple fireworks. So this will actually fill in those 1 3/4 single shot titanium crackles into all those. So really time saving there. And we'll go back to the module on channel 0. We'll go Q3, module on 0 again, Q4, module 0, Q5. All right, so that'll be kind of our 6 cue step script. And now we just need to export it to our thumb drive or a USB stick. So we'll go to Create 18R2 script file. We'll go to Export Script. We'll go to my USB drive. I've already got it on there. So it's just going to say, do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. And now we'll load it into our remote and make sure everything functions as we expect. All right, so we'll go ahead and load the script into our 18R2. Just go ahead and plug in that USB stick and turn on your remote. It'll take just a few seconds for that to boot up, and it'll indicate that the script has been successfully loaded by all those green LEDs. Once you see that, you're good to go, and you can pull out that USB stick. All right, so if you remember our script, we actually had 6 events. We've got 5 on channel 0, and then we've got that crazy one out on channel 1, Q18. Again, just to illustrate that at our third Q, we don't have to go sequentially. It should jump to this channel for us. So we'll make sure that's working properly. All right, we'll go ahead and arm up. Whoops. We'll go ahead and arm up here. Push our trigger button. And you'll see since a step event is the first one in our script, you'll see SP down here. That indicates that the script is active, it's been triggered, and now it's expecting us to push the step button to get things rolling. So I'll hit it once. You'll see 1, 2, and our third one should jump to that Q18 on channel 1. Our next should jump back to 0, 1, 3. So things are working as intended, and we should be good to go. Okay, so let's take step scripting a step further. Now we know that we can do kind of an incremental script where we're just stepping through those events manually, right? Well, you can actually integrate timed event, fully automated events into that same exact script as well. And where this is really helpful and applicable, just as kind of one example, is let's say, for instance, you've got a singer and they're singing the national anthem, and you need maybe some red pearls to go up on Rocket's Red Glare. You don't necessarily know, right, how long that singer is going to accentuate those notes or hold those words or notes for. So this gives you the flexibility, right? You can simply just press that step button as you hear the singer singing it. And then maybe at the end of the anthem, you want to go into a full automated barrage of cakes and let the remote handle the rest. You can do that, and I'll show you how. Alrighty, so with that scenario in mind, let's go ahead and create our next script. We'll go to File, New Show, and we'll go No Music, Step Timed Event again, and then we'll call this one Anthem. All right, so now we got those script attributes. I'll go ahead and fill these out just like we have done in the past, so no surprises there. And all right, we should be ready to script our show. So we've got the Rocket's Red Glare that we know we need to manually time some fireworks to. And, you know, let's step up the game. We'll use some titanium salutes here. And so I'll need 3 stepped events added to my timeline. So I'll go ahead and do that now. And then I'll head over to Fireworks Share and really quickly pull these in like we did previously. So these 1 3/4 should work nicely. I'll click on the leftmost column, shift click on the bottom. It'll highlight all these gray, and then you can just simply insert those. A little bit of time savings there. So, okay, we're going to want these all to fire from the same module. So I'll just do channel 0 Q1, channel 0 Q2, and channel 0 Q3. Okay, so now we're essentially just waiting for the end of the anthem, right? And so we're going to need another step event to essentially stop the script to where we can say, okay, now do all this automation, right? Have it run the rest of this automatically. So I'm going to go down here to Queue Control. I'm going to add another event to our timeline. This is a step event still. And then I'm just going to add in one of these 500 gram red, white, and blues. Okay, and this is going to shoot from the same module. Let's say, for instance, we've got 2 more of these that we want to shoot from a left and a right position, but at the same time. Well, I could create, 2 more stepped events, and I could press the step button really fast, but that's not going to guarantee that they all go off at the same time. So how can I handle this? Well, I can just add another, actually I can just right click here. I'll duplicate event, and this will be maybe my right position. I'm going to double click on event time here. This is not going to be a step event. It's going to be a timed event at 0 seconds, okay? So if this is confusing, bear with me. I'm going to explain this in detail as I finish this up. So this is going to fire from our right position, maybe on channel 1, Q1, and then I'll duplicate this line as well. And this will be on, just again, a different module, Q1 again. So now what's happening here? We've shot all these manually. It stopped at this event, and then it said, okay, I'm waiting for a step instruction. So you hit your step button again. As soon as this fires, as soon as you push the button, these go off immediately after that. So think of the last step event like a stopwatch starting. And as soon as that stopwatch starts, these are going to go, because this is at 0 seconds. So as soon as the stopwatch is started, these are going with it. All 3 of these will fire at the exact same time, giving you the ability to have that frontage, which is really, really cool. So you can use kind of this setup to shoot multiple modules in these in the step event script. So pretty cool stuff. Okay, then you've got some options, right? If you just needed to shoot this triple front at the same time, you could now go back to writing step events and then just control the flow of your script manually because you'd have control of that step button. Or you could say, you know what, from this time out, I'm just going to automate the script, just like we learned in time event, right? So let me walk through a gotcha. It's something that may be obvious, but maybe not so obvious. So I'm going to add another cue control. We'll add in an amazing ballet here. And I'm going to set this to go off in 5 seconds. And we'll go 0.5. So this will be on that center channel on Q5 since we've already used 4. Then I'm going to right click this and go to duplicate event. So it can be easy to read this like this is 5 seconds after the previous line, but it's not. Both of these are going to fire at the exact same time. Now, why is that? Because this is relative to when the stopwatch started. So the stopwatch starts going, it's at 0, meaning that all 3 of these fire at the exact same time. And then it's incrementing up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at 5 seconds, both of these are going to fire. This may be obvious, like I said, if you've watched time event or you've been scripting for a while, but I just don't want you to get hung up on this gotcha. If you want this to go off 5 seconds after the previous, you need to double click it. You can do this in a number of ways, but you can go to enter manual seconds and then just say increment this 5, which would obviously be 10 seconds. So just wanted to drive that point home that this is all relative to when the stopwatch started. Okay, so I had briefly mentioned this earlier, so let me show you really quick that we could go back to stepping if we wanted to. And maybe I want some of these American Dreams here, and whoops, this is actually duplicated. And this will be 0.7, this will be 0.8, and then we could go back to time event again if we wanted. Maybe we want this one to start after the previous fireworks. So this is at 30 seconds. And just note that the time always restarts after the last step event. So it starts at 0 here, and it will start at 0 again here. So this is 30 seconds after this step. All right, so for the sake of kind of dry firing, I'm going to delete these 3 lines. And maybe this is our script that we need to shoot. So I'll go ahead and create an 18R2 script file. We'll go ahead and export this and head down to our thumb drive. And whoops, this is going to complain it's already there. So I'll just overwrite it. And we'll load this into our remote and make sure everything works properly. Alrighty, so we've got our thumb drive plugged into our remote. We'll go ahead and turn it on. And just like the others, we'll just need to wait for that confirmation that that script's been loaded properly. There's those green LEDs. Once that's off our screen, we can go ahead and pull that thumb drive off. And we'll just verify that we've got those 6 cues on channel 0 as we would expect. 1 on channel 1 and 1 on channel 2 for that frontage. So we'll head back to our trigger channel, push arm, and then push our trigger button. And so now we've got our rockets red glare, right? And since the step script or the step events are the first in our script, we'll see that SP in that digital display. So I'll go ahead and step through rockets red glare. And then our next cue here will shoot our frontage automatically. So you'll watch the remote shift to channel 2 as it's fired all 3 of those. And then that 5-second timer will begin for those cakes. And you'll watch that happen. So here we go. And we should have another 5-second indicator for our last cake on Q6. And the script should complete. All right, so that wraps up another tutorial. If you like this type of content, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe. It helps others like yourself find this type of content so that they can learn from it too. Leave a comment below for other topics that you'd like us to cover, and we'll see you again in the next video.